It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I am Kevin Keatsman, host of the Kevin Keatsman Has Issues podcast. If you want more than an hour, you can go find it every day, everywhere you listen to podcasts. It's called Kevin Keatsman Has Issues. Appreciate you listening to that as well. We got a great show lined up for you today in just a couple of moments. A split in the Democrat Party. We're going to get into that. Also, coming up in a little bit, Russ Vought, a.k.a. the Grim Reaper, has done an interview on I think this is a little weird, man. They call it the Charlie Kirk podcast. But he was on there, and he has got some plan for closing down government agencies. Lee Sterling will join us at 10:30 to talk a little pro football. If you hate Goodell and you're mad at the NFL and all those things, it is misplaced. The Chiefs had smashing ratings on Sunday night. The NFL is riding a high. We'll talk to Lee Sterling about the changing landscape in sports and get his thoughts on the Missouri Tigers this week at Auburn and the Chiefs against the Raiders. And, of course, we will always chat with Mark Van Sickle. I've got an update on Knifegate in Texas Tech with KU. If you've been following that on the show this week, a pocket knife was allegedly thrown on the field in Lubbock. That did not happen. It has been proven, and it is not a good look for the Kansas Jayhawks and their head coach, who I think inadvertently lied. I think he was told something, believed his staffer, and they screwed him over. This is one hot mess. We will not get into all the details later because it's kind of a long, winding story. If you want to hear it all, that's the lead on my podcast today. You can hear the entire full story and truth of what happened. But both KU and Texas Tech have been fined for their roles in this really messy thing that if it had been Ohio State and Michigan or something like that, this would be the only sports story you would hear about for 3 years. It's a good thing this was not Kansas basketball, it's only Kansas football. Or it would be a massive story because it involves cheating. And it's crazy. Also, NBC News is laying people off. We'll tell you who they're laying off. I think you're going to like it. It's all ahead on Uncanceled. We start with, I'll riff right off that clip you just heard from Bernie Sanders in the news update at the top of the hour, where Bernie said if Trump wins this fight, hundreds of thousands of people will die and our healthcare system will collapse. Well, Bernie Sanders and his ilk are increasingly out on a very tiny branch of the Democrat tree that's about to snap and break. It's going to snap and break. How do we know this? Well, we look for little clues. I'm your trained host that's been in media for 40 years, and I know what people are trying to say even when they don't say it. Pete pointed this out a little while ago when he played the clip of AOC. She was trying to say she wanted to give free health care to illegal aliens, but she said, there's laws on the books, and I respect those, and I'm not saying those are wrong. I'm just in favor of a new law that is a one-payer system because we got a changing landscape in America. Americans aren't putting up with this liberal crap anymore. It's all changed. We had 15 years of Obama, basically where we all thought like Obama, or we're told if we didn't think like Obama, we were racist, homophobes, xenophobes, whatever may be the case. And we're terrible people. We're so past that. Americans are tired of being called names. They're just sick of it. Nobody wants to be told how bad they are and how awful they are because of how they vote or what party they're in for. Nope. There's too many bigger issues. Crime, safety, the economy, your job, layoffs, whatever it may be, your family. There's so many things so much more important than listening to somebody tell you you're not a good enough person. Most people get up every day in this country, do something productive, love their neighbors and friends and family, help anyone in need, and go to sleep with peace on their mind. And 98% of Americans do that every single day. We all live our own lives, doing what we like to do, and we don't hurt anybody. And we don't think bad thoughts about people. We just go about our own way. That's universal. It's a very American principle. We've sort of been the world's savior, for lack of a better term. Every time there's conflict anywhere, it takes the United States to solve something. It's sort of reflective of who we are as people. When I heard Quentin Lucas today on with Pete say that he's really a fiscal conservative, while talking about and being questioned about a $100 million shortfall in his city, I'm like, man, everybody's changing. Now, I know Mayor Q is slick, and I know what he says on this radio station is different than what he's going to say maybe at a town hall on public television. Different things. I get it. He's an adept, slick politician. And that's not an insult. That's a compliment. I mean that. But he really got me thinking for a second. You know what? Maybe he is more conservative. No matter what, he recognizes in the landscape today, he better move off the far left positions. And he went on to say, you know, some of these other cities are doing these big things and, you know, free this and free that. We're not going there. We've realized we just don't have the money to do that. While we may think it's a great idea, we're not doing that. He backed it up with some things that he's done. Now, it may be lame and they still $100 million in debt or whatever their financial problem. No expert like Pete on the financial problems of Kansas City, Missouri. But they've got financial problems because they've been run by liberals. So we know how that works. But there he was on radio saying, ultimately, I'm a Democrat, but I'm a fiscal conservative. That used to be a thing. That's Joe Manchin in West Virginia, who felt like he was pushed out of his party and retired. There's been a lot of it. Bill Clinton in many ways. We went from Jimmy Carter to Barack Obama. And what Ronald Reagan did, that was 28 years? That was 28 years between the end of Carter and the start of Obama. Ronald Reagan defined those 28 years for an entire generation of Americans that are about my age. We were coming of voting age. We never switched. We saw what worked. We saw that Carter did not work. He was a liberal. And it was bad. The things that he did, very bad. Okay? Harmful. America immediately turned their nose up, said, They turned their nose up on Obama because 5 million people fewer voted for him the second time. But there were still people saying, I got to vote for that black dude because I really don't want to be known as a racist. We're so past that. It's not going to happen anymore. Trump's completely turned the table on all of them. And it was crystal clear last night on Cuomo, which was on News Nation, at the Kennedy Center, at the forum that they had with a whole bunch of politicians and news people. Stephen A. Smith was there, made a big deal about the little man, threw a little fit, got up and walked away, said, I got to take a break, and walked off stage. He wants to run for office. Bill O'Reilly was there. You know what this was. Many of you watched it. The defining moment for me was John Fetterman wearing his hoodie, which means the audio sounds a little muffled here because the microphone's going up against his hoodie. But I learned some things about him that I didn't know. We didn't like him when he had his stroke and he won. We thought he was a whacked-out liberal, and we can't believe that he won and Pennsylvanians voted for him. But boy, did he give the roadmap and lay it out there for Democrats like AOC, who you heard on Mondo's show today, saying things that sounded fairly conservative, like Mayor Q, who said something fiscal conservative. But this one absolutely takes the cake. Fetterman was blaming his fellow Democrats for shutting down the government and blaming them for even more.
I'm the only Democrat in my family. I grew up in a conservative part of Pennsylvania, and I grew up and I know and I love people that voted for President Trump. But they are not fascists. They're not Nazis. They're not trying to destroy the Constitution and those things. And that's part of another thing. I refuse to call people Nazis or fascists, or I would never compare anybody to Hitler and those things. And now that kinds of extreme rhetoric is going to continue. We're going to be more likely in resulting in extreme kind of outcomes and political violence and doing all these kinds of things like Charlie Kirk. For me, all I could say is like, let people grieve. Give people the space. I'm not going to use that terrible thing and that Pasek assassination to make my argument and try to put out my views. It's like, my God, he's a father that had his neck blown out by a bullet. And now people have forgotten. President Trump was in my state, was shot in the head. And if that could you imagine where our nation would be if he was hit in the same way with Kirk? We really got to turn the temperature down. And we can agree to disagree on these kinds of things. But right now, shutting down the government, I just can't take it that.
I mean, there it is, John Fetterman. That might as well have been a quote from J.D. Vance or even somebody as extreme as Steve Bannon. That's something that every American should agree on. And this man is pointing out how misguided his own party is and how radical they've become, that they just have to ratchet up. See, what people don't consciously know in America is over the last decade, Donald Trump has taken it down. He used to really attack people, like mean, like personal mean. Now it's just comedy. He just calls them names, and it's always just something light. It's kind of funny. We laugh at it. Oh, that's a low IQ person. It's entertainment. It's not serious. It's not something that says, oh, I got to go get my dad's rifle and put some bullets in it and shoot somebody. That's not what Trump's doing. Trump's doing comedy, for the most part, on Democrats, and it works. He is a master marketer. Over the last decade, everything has changed with Donald Trump. This party, the Democrat Party, doesn't know what to do. I can't believe I'm saying this. I certainly wouldn't have said it 5 years ago. They should be listening to John Fetterman. And more of them are. They're moving that way. You can see it. You can feel it. You can hear it. The Clintons both congratulated Trump on the Middle East peace deal. Obama couldn't say his name. There's a lot of hatred there. Your successor came in and was more successful than you. That's a rough thing for a president. I get it. But there were all kinds of people that joined in and said, hey, Trump was a part of this. It happened. Now, there were a lot like Bernie Sanders you're not going to hear say it. Then the wacky squad and those people, I don't even know what they stand for. They're un-American. It's the un-American part of the Democrat Party that is their problem. And what Fetterman is saying, just please stop being un-American. We don't need this violence. Tone it down. Talk policy. Appeal to people. They've lost the middle class. They've lost the working class in this country because they're too busy running around with the oligarchs they say they hate while bad-mouthing their opponent and calling him Hitler. No American that doesn't have a therapist thinks Trump is Hitler. Let's just put it that way. Let's take the party out of this. Unless you are seeing a therapist, you can't possibly think Trump is Hitler. This is not possible. I'm dead serious about this. Now, we don't know how many people in America have what they self-describe as mental health problems. A lot of people, like Los Angeles is the therapy capital of the world. Everybody in Hollywood has a therapist. They think it's the only way they can cope because Hollywood it's so hard to be an actor and drive my Ferrari. This is such a hard job. I'm George Clooney. I need a therapist. So some people don't really need the therapist, but they go. If you're the person that doesn't need the therapist and you go, you may think Trump is Hitler. You've got some sort of problem with you that you're just going to a therapist for no reason when you're not really mentally ill. You just think you need it. Like you need a massage or you need to go to the dentist and have your teeth cleaned. I got to see a therapist every week. It's just a wacky world. And those people don't get it. But the sane people who get up every day and just work and mind their own business and love their families and friends and would help any stranger in need and do what they can for their fellow man and probably lay their head on their pillow at night and pray to their God. Those people don't think this guy's Hitler. Fetterman couldn't be saying the most simple thing to his party for these people, and they just don't want to listen. It's amazing. Some are. It's moving. And I think it's a sign that, again, we're winning this battle. It's the battle of ideas. It's the battle of what's right for America. A golfer on every shot, a pro golfer, checks the wind. And if the politicians on the left are smart, they're going to check the wind. And what they're going to learn is the wind is blowing Trump's way. They should find the things that I actually agree with Trump on and say it. And they might gain some credibility back. I hope they don't, but I also don't want violence in this country. They've got to tone it down. John Fetterman, the compass for the Democrat Party. 913-408-7957. This is Uncanceled. Our phone lines are open if you'd like to join us. We got more coming right up. We're heading to the phones in just a moment. I want to update you on Russ Vought, who's the director of the Office of Management and Budget. He is called the Grim Reaper by Donald Trump. He said several agencies now will face reductions or closures, including environmental programs like the Green New Deal, the Department of Energy, the Environmental Protection Agency's Environmental Justice Initiative, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Quote, we're going to keep these RIFs, which is reduction in forces, RIFs rolling throughout this shutdown because we think it's important to stay on offense for the American taxpayer and the American people in getting a government that if there's an opportunity to have less bureaucracy, we're going to do it. Think of the Green New Deal programs, the Department of Energy. Think of the Minority Business Development Agency at Commerce that divvies up business grants on the basis of race. Think environmental justice at the EPA. Think about CISA. CISA was an area that we riffed, and we're participating in censorship of the American people. They're on it. Grim Reaper's working it. Keep that government shut down. Let's go. They're looking at 10,000 jobs, and a judge in San Francisco is halting it at this point. So here we go again. If a federal judge in San Francisco is halting, okay, wait, follow me here. If a federal judge in San Francisco can halt these layoffs and closures, why can't the same federal judge in San Francisco keep the government open? Where was the judge that said, nope, can't close the government? That's unconstitutional. You can't close the government. Keep funding it. I'm doing a court order, and you could take this all the way to the Supreme Court, but the government's open. Where was that judge? To the phones we go. Here is Stephen on Uncanceled. Good morning, Stephen.
Hey, Kev, I don't usually watch News Nation, but I watched that national town hall, and it was pretty good last night. I thoroughly enjoyed all the different viewpoints. They're different from ours, but most of them. I had the same read on Fetterman, but I think the difference is that, outside of Ro Khanna and Fetterman, those guys don't exist anymore. Chucky Schumer and Pelosi are done. They're gone. They just don't know it yet. The young rebels are taking over, and they're not going to tolerate any difference of opinion. This is over.
And I think they can feel it, Stephen. Yesterday, Pelosi had a really bad moment outside the Capitol. I don't know if you saw this or not. A reporter was asking her about her role on January 6th and why she declined the National Guard multiple times. The chief of police at the Capitol police chief, put out testimony and statements. He showed logs of calls and emails that he sent in advance of and on January 6th, like 11 different times where Pelosi declined the National Guard until it was too late. When the Guard came in, they'd already breached the Capitol. And then she said yes. And this reporter went up and said, can you comment on why you didn't allow the National Guard to be here? And she kept walking, and she has these two guys that help her walk because she can't walk very well. And she kept walking. This reporter was really good and very nice. It was a sweet young lady, and she was behind her. She couldn't see her. And Pelosi turned and snapped and said, shut up, and just got in her face. I didn't do anything with the National Guard. It was the president that didn't have the National Guard over here. You're such a bad journalist. It's just Republican talking points. And she stormed off. Man, they're feeling the heat for sure.
Well, they really need time alone in the wilderness. I mean, it may come to that. I mean, the question I still haven't gotten a good answer to in my mind is, how did they lose 14 to 15 million votes from the peak of COVID? I mean, this should be a blinking warning sign of flashing, like on the car dash. Yeah, I know there were all those extra ballots flying around in those, Alan Dershowitz said there were 4 or 5 extra ballots flying around in some of those states. But I mean, they are losing and losing and losing, and I can't even explain how you lose 15 million voters between Kamala and Joe.
Well, I think
no one's
the
ever
answer.
Really gotten to the bottom. No one's gotten to the bottom of that. I mean, I'd love to hear.
Kamala actually got more votes than Hillary got in 2016. Joe got 81 million. The rest of them are all in the 60s, including Obama. So we know how those votes were lost. It was very simple. It was mail-in balloting and complete and utter election fraud. It's undeniable and unquestionable. Now, proving exactly how it all happened and saying this is what was done is a complicated thing. Everybody thinks Dominion machines or mail-in balloting. We've got ballot harvesting. There's a lot of different theories and things that are out there. They're all fine theories. What we know is that it happened. There's just no question. There's no way Joe Biden got 14 million more votes, 15 more than Barack Obama. That's not possible. And then the votes came right back down to the normal level in the last election. But basically, Kamala got more this last time than Hillary did in 2016. So, but not by many. It's been roughly a static vote, somewhere between, I think, 65 and 68 million that the Democrats have gotten this whole century, except Joe Biden, who got 81 million. There's no way. Everybody knows that. Lee Sterling joins us next. We'll talk a little NFL football and Knifegate at Kansas straight ahead. Oh, my goodness. Mundo's got his whole family running around the building today. What a lovely family he has. That is so good. And I don't know what it is about radio, guys. Somehow, some way, guys, we all way outkicked our coverage. It is just unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be a radio thing. I don't know. We'll see how it goes with my good friend Lee Sterling at ParamountSports.com. After the Chiefs got a big win, we're going to talk a little NFL with Lee and find out what he thinks this week. Lee, how are you, sir?
I'm real good. I mean, crazy what started off. It looked like, the Chiefs were sitting at a point where, things could tilt and they could be in real trouble. And now I think they're the best team. There's no one else even close. Is that crazy in 2 weeks?
It flipped pretty fast. It really did. So
Yep.
On Sunday night, Lee, There was a Major League Baseball Game 1 of the ALCS, and then the Chiefs game drew a record rating. It's the second highest rated regular season game of all time. 27.3 million people watched. I remember when you and I were kids. I'm not trying to be the old guy, get off my lawn, whatever.
Yeah.
Baseball ruled, boxing ruled. Now it's football, UFC. It's amazing how, if you're lucky like us, you live long enough, you follow sports long enough, there are trends and things change. Baseball's like an afterthought right now. How did football do this to baseball?
Well, what's happening is, kids growing up, they want to see action, and baseball has, killed the sport. Now, they tried to revitalize it with putting the runner, on second base in the 10th inning. They don't want games going 15, 16 innings here. And, teams are now, trying to score runs with a long ball. So they're trying to do things and speeding up the game by, the 20-second rule as far as pitching is concerned, but it might be a little bit too late. So that's just, it's a point where I think that they've lost the audience. Boxing did the same. UFC, when there was a vacuum, they filled it up, and, they have personalities. Now, some things could change. Baseball, if they can get Seattle and the Dodgers in the World Series, I think that's an interesting World Series. Be tough for Seattle, but at least there's some interest there with the Dodgers being a national team. If it's Milwaukee and Toronto, we might see the lowest ratings in the history of baseball, and we're going back, 70, 80 years. So they need to do something.
I feel like if Seattle's in, more people might watch in Asia than watch in America. And on Monday night, it was just unfathomable to me. The NFL had a doubleheader on Monday night, and we had the American League and National Championship Series playing. They got no chance up against an NFL doubleheader, and both those games were pretty watchable. I'm not sure I understand some of the things baseball tries to do.
Well, the only thing, though, is they have a catcher who is, set all records this year, might win the MVP. So that and the underdog. But Milwaukee, I don't think the average person can tell you 3 players on that team. Toronto, maybe 2. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like I said, it's probably a little bit too late. And now all of a sudden the UFC, they took in that vacuum, and boxing is pretty much done. Now they've kind of lost a little bit of momentum. They always lose it every football season. They need another Conor McGregor, and Donald Trump might be able to fill that vacuum when they have the UFC event next June for his birthday. So, so they need that, and they also need a couple stars. Almost all the champions come from other countries. So, some things happen. Football certainly is king, and it's not even close.
All right, let's talk a little pro football. Yep. Tonight the Steelers play, and if the playoffs started today, they'd be the 2 seed, and the Colts would be the 1 seed. In the AFC. Right. You mentioned you think the Chiefs are the best team right now, but that doesn't mean anything when you're already 2 games behind the Colts. The Chiefs will play the Colts in November at Arrowhead Stadium, so these teams generally see each other. But what do you make of these teams, that the Colts getting off to a 5-1 start and the Steelers 4-1? Should people be taking them very seriously?
No, I think it's a great story. And if it happens and they continue on this trend, and let's say the Colts or the Steelers have home field advantage, Kansas City might go there, and they might be a 6 or 7 point favorite. There is that much of a difference. So the only other team, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm worried about is Buffalo. And we saw what happened last year with Detroit. They lost 8 out of 11 starters on defense, and you can't compete. So they've lost 4 of the top 5 cornerbacks, and right now they're really hurting on defense. So if they can get that back, if they can get that defense healthy again, and their linebackers, they've lost 3 of the top 4 linebackers, then they've got a chance. Other than that, I think it's the Chiefs and almost everyone else.
Chiefs will play the Bills in 3 weeks. I feel like even if the Bills get healthy, their defense is never going to be great this year. It's a liability no matter what. They're going to have to outscore people. So, look, it's football. Anybody can lose at any time. The Raiders are coming in here this week. A couple of years ago, they beat the Chiefs on Christmas Day. 6 weeks later, the Chiefs are having a parade from winning the Super Bowl. You can't make anything of it. One particular game cannot judge a season, certainly, and there's a long way to go, but the Chiefs are behind. This is not a normal position for them. I think the AFC's wild, and I guess the one thing I really like about pro football this year, Lee, is there is no great team. We can check that box. There's nobody out there that you're like, oh boy, there's the one. We can say Kansas City's playing better than other people right now, but I can't write them down for being in the Super Bowl. Can you?
No, I can't write him down for being in the Super Bowl. The key, I think, this year is just get in the playoffs. Once you get in the playoffs, I think anything can go. These NFL players, I mean, playing on the road is nothing to them anymore. So this might be one of those years, maybe the first time ever, we see two wild cards get in the Super Bowl.
Lee Sterling's with ParamountSports.com. He's a national handicap champion. He played football. He's been doing this for decades now at ParamountSports.com. Let's talk about a couple of our local games here. We'll start with college. KU and K-State are off this week, but Mizzou, for the first time, they have 0 flying miles this year. They got on an airplane for the first time. They're headed to Auburn to take on Auburn. The Tigers are a 1.5-point favorite after losing to Alabama. What do you think happens in that one?
Well, Auburn, I don't know, where are they now? I mean, Jackson Arnold, that fumble before the half, and I think, he clearly got in if you look at the video. So I thought 90% of the country thought he got in, and good teams are able to overcome it. They were not able to get that mojo back. Partly it's Hugh Freeze's fault. The other half, it's Jackson Arnold's fault. Second half, I mean, they were a dead team walking. So they're going to have to find a way to get the job done against, I think, a very talented Missouri team. Missouri was right there. We're talking about right there with Alabama the whole game. Their quarterback, the transfer quarterback that they got from Penn State, Bo Prabilla, can run and throw the football. He's going to turn the ball over a little bit, but they have the number one rusher in the country in Ahmad Hardy. So, I mean, Auburn's offense, I think when the dust is cleared, two worst offenses will be Kentucky and Auburn, and I think Missouri. I think they're in the top half here. I think they get the win here. 30-20. All
right, elsewhere in the AFC West in the NFL, the Broncos take on the Giants. They're 7-point favorite. The Giants have been an interesting team. The Chiefs beat them. The Chargers lost to them. Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out how the Broncos and Chargers won last week, but they both did. The Broncos are a big favorite here against kind of the new-look Giants. What do you think?
If the Jets did anything on offense, they win the game. They only hit 82 yards and almost won the game.
Unbelievable.
So I expected a lot more out of the Broncos right now. What we're seeing is Bo Nix, a lot of hype last year, but the offense bottom third in the league in scoring, 21 or fewer points in 4 of the 6 games. They were very lucky to win that game here. The G-men, they've found themselves, if they can get a receiver, I mean, who knows? They could be in the playoff mix. So you got to love what they're doing with Jackson Dart, Cam Scatteraboo, heart and soul of the team. And their front four on defense is going to be all over Bo Nix. They did a number on Philly. They didn't just win last Thursday. They won convincingly here. Take the G-men and the 7 points. They might even win the game outright.
Chiefs are a 12.5-point favorite against the Raiders. Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. What do you say? That's a big number. The Chiefs don't cover big numbers a lot, but here we go. The Raiders are coming to town.
You're right, 14-18 against the spread the last 32 at home. People love to play teams when they get a key player back. Rashee Rice is coming back. It's usually the second game where they play the best and at the highest level. So it's great that he's coming back. It's going to pay dividends here, but Vegas can run the football. And if you run the football, it takes a lot of clock off and, keeps the offense, Kansas City offense, off the field here. Also, teams 34-20-2 after facing Tennessee, and that's the Raiders here. Gets a lot of teams able to feeling right about themselves after you play Tennessee. I think Kansas City wins the game here, 28-20, but 12.5 maybe just a little too much.
All right, now folks visit ParamountSports.com. They can get more information on all the other college and pro games, correct?
Yep. Yeah, we have a special going this week. The last 4 Sundays, we've gone 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, and I let everyone down last week. I went 4-1. We're on a 19-1 run on our top 5 selections on Sunday. So we created a new offer. It's called Lee's NFL Sunday Golden Ticket. 4 weeks of games on Sunday, 5 selections, just $197. That's right. We're 19-1 over the last 20 games on Sunday. Lee's NFL Sunday Golden Ticket, just $197 on the website, ParamountSports.com.
Mark's eyeballs across the glass are just spinning right now. You've got. They're just spinning. He's like, wait a second, what? 19? He loves these 13-team parlays, man. He wanted in on the 19 out of 20, Lee. That's what he's looking for. Way to go, buddy. Thank you.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Thank you.
Take care. There's Lee Sterling. ParamountSports.com is his website. Now, we have a huge scandal taking place in our own backyard in college football. This is a really big deal. I'm not going to rehash the entire story. We've been talking about this quite a bit this week. We'll call it Knifegate if you want, or Pocket Knifegate. They throw these tortillas at Texas Tech on the field. They get penalized for that. KU knows this going in. Both Tech and Kansas have now been reprimanded and fined by the Big 12. Tech for not stopping it happening, and Kansas for basically lying about a pocket knife being thrown from the stands. The Big 12, the commissioner, said that did not happen, that Lance Leipold was incorrect. Now, I don't think Lance Leipold is a liar. I think his staff told him that that knife came from the stands, and they alerted officials, and according to a report in the Lubbock newspaper, the pocket knife led to a 15-yard penalty against Texas Tech in the game. It is now shown on video evidence that a Kansas coach dropped it on the field on purpose. A player picked it up. They alerted the officials, and it's a huge scandal. Now, it's only Kansas football, so it hasn't really gone national like it would if these were bigger programs. I can't imagine what it's like on the KU coaching staff right now. And if I were Lance Leipold and one of my coaches did that, and it wasn't a planned thing that I was in on, didn't know about it, and then they told me, oh, yeah, this knife, they're like, we just got a 15-yard penalty. How'd that happen? Well, there's a knife on the field, coach. A fan threw it. And one of my staffers did it and didn't tell me the truth. That person would be fired. So if the report in Lubbock is all accurate on this, and the Big 12 has backed it up, KU isn't disputing any of it. The athletic director and the coach both put statements out, said they understand, they agree with the findings of the Big 12. They apologize for their actions. They're ready to move on to the rest of the season. They want this story to go away, but it's gaining legs because now it appears that Kansas intentionally cheated. Not only did a student not throw a pocket knife at KU, it looks like a KU coach intentionally cheated to get a 15-yard penalty, which is a massive scandal in college football. I mean, that's way up there of things that you just don't do. You know, this Michigan scandal that we had to hear about for 2 years was them sending a guy on the road to use his iPhone to video the game. Well, the game's on TV. I mean, he's videoing the bench and different things like that, whatever. That's a giant scandal? We're talking about a coach who said, yeah, they're throwing knives at us, and it turns out it was his coach that dropped it to cheat. You can't do a bigger 180 than that. That's according to a report in the Lubbock papers. This is a big, big scandal. College football is, there's a lot of money on the line. These guys will do anything. If I'm Lance Leipold right now, it made the entire... Everybody in America that reads the headline of this story now just thinks that Lance Leipold is a flat-out liar, that he's a liar. He just lied. They believe that. And he MF'd and whatever the other coach after the game and all these other things. That's what they think. It's unfair. It's not unfair because he should have kept his mouth shut. He shouldn't have said anything in the post-game news conference. But he believed his coaches. He believed his people that said they chucked a knife at us. They chucked a pocket knife at us. And he went in there and he got over the coach. They got in a fight, and then he went in the news conference and repeated it, and now everybody thinks Lance Leipold's a liar. What a crazy story. Uncanceled continues. We're checking in with Mark next on 95.7. We check in with Mark Van Sickle, and this Josh Simmons story with the Kansas City Chiefs is one that's got everybody confounded, trying to guess what's wrong with him. He left the team before the walkthrough last week. The week before that, they said he was sick. His past history is that he had a knee injury and was going to miss maybe the first 6 games of the season because of the knee injury, and that's why he dropped in the draft all the way to the end of the first round for the Chiefs. But he never showed any signs of a knee injury in Kansas City. He has played like an all-pro since the start and now has just left the team, which the Chiefs cannot comment on. Clearly, it's illegal for them to do it, which is some sort of a personal privacy thing. Leads me to believe, Mark, with Josh Simmons, this is either a mental health issue with him or some sort of a substance issue for him, maybe even a combination of both, but I doubt it. It feels more like a mental health crisis of some sort. What the heck do you think is going on, and how weird was that yesterday? Andy Reid, no commenting on this thing, just basically saying it's a Brett Veach issue now, which means it's a roster decision. That was really strange.
Yeah, the way that Andy looked and the way that Patrick looked when they responded to those things, just obviously they're not going to comment, but their faces looked like they were sad about it. So I think it might be something with depression or, like you said, mental health issues with Simmons. So I don't know if we'll ever find out for sure, but we'll find out soon, I think, whether he's going to be on the roster or not.
Yeah, we mentioned yesterday, this has happened a couple times with the Royals. Zach Greinke once left the team to get some help. Danny Duffy, when he was in the minors, basically quit baseball for a year for whatever personal reasons those were, and then came back and became a big league pitcher and did a lot of nice things. This can happen with young people, and it can happen with anybody. We see it happen a lot of times in sports with younger people who maybe we don't know what Simmons' case is here, but maybe he's away from home. He's bonded with his teammates completely. Who knows what kind of situation they're in here, but we wish the very best for him. There's something called a non-football injury list. If the Chiefs put him on that, and I think they probably will this week, if they put him on that, he has to miss at least the next 4 games, but then they can replace him on the roster. So I think there will probably be a roster move coming. There's no reason, if you don't know when he's coming back, there's no reason to not do that. It would not surprise me. I won't flat out predict it, but see if you agree with me or not. It would not surprise me if he is not back this year.
Yeah, that might surprise me a tiny bit.
Okay.
I think that he'd probably come back sometime after the bye, maybe in December. But I think it would be long enough to where it's over a month.
Depends on what the issue is, yeah. Again, the non-football injury list is 4 games you have to sit out if they put him on that, and I think they will. It just seems to me that that's coming. Okay, how about this one? We talked about the viral video yesterday of the woman in Wichita. Do you remember that, Mark?
Yeah.
Did you ever see it? Probably not.
Yeah, I did see the video.
So she came forward in tournament week, complimented the boyfriend a little bit, maybe for helping her when she was going loony there at 2 a.m. on Sunday morning.
Maybe had a few drinks.
Saturday night. KWCH Wichita now reports that the lady came in and said, hey, it was me. Everything's okay. There were no charges. Nothing happened. She was not hurt. And they're like, okay, for background information, where do you live? What's your boyfriend's name? All this other stuff. ICE has picked up the boyfriend.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yes. Oh, yes.
That's why she didn't want to come forward.
That's why she didn't want to come forward. They're like, what's the boyfriend's name? Uh-oh, red flag in the computer. So he had some issues in addition to being an illegal alien.
Okay.
If I had to, right? ICE wouldn't just go pick him up for being illegal, right? Or would this have been enough? This probably would have been enough. Just this incident alone might have been enough to get him picked up, right?
There's a little flag there, so.
Wow.
Whew.
Do you remember who Ed Korstein is?
No.
Big Balls.
Oh.
Yeah, remember Big Balls?
Yeah, I remember Big Balls.
Big Balls with Doge. He was mugged. He shoved his girlfriend in a car. He was beaten to a pulp and left on the ground bleeding on August 3rd in Washington, D.C. before Trump cleaned up D.C. The 2 15-year-olds, a boy and a girl that did this to him, had their day in court yesterday to be sentenced. They both pleaded guilty. They admitted to all of it. The judge let them go. Said 9 months probation. It's my job to rehabilitate you, not penalize you.
Boo. Why are they doing this still?
We got a juvenile crime problem in this country like nobody else. NBC News has laid off 150 people, 7% of their news division. It's the DEI department. Every single one of them is gone. More winning. Thanks for listening to KCMO Talk Radio. The Vince Show is coming right up.